lined up. We've had a great opportunity to work with IowaPolitics.com over the past year, and I want to thank everyone with IowaPolitics.com for all of your hard work, and we've enjoyed this collaboration tremendously, so we thank you. I'm going to turn the mic over to Chris Dorsey with IowaPolitics.com. He's going to be moderating the discussion today, so with no further ado.
Hello, thank you all for coming. I am Chris Dorsey, and I am the Bureau Chief of IowaPolitics.com, and today's forum deals with the economy. And we have a panel of experts in the business, banking, and economic development field in Iowa. And let me just start off with introduction of our panel. We have here on my right Mr. Jim Schipper. He is the chairman of the Iowa Bankers Association and also CEO at American State Bank in Osceola. We have Dick Oslo, who is the state budget director and the Iowa Department of Management. And over here we have David Moss, who's the executive vice president of economic development for the Greater Des Moines Partnership. We have Lisa Fox, who is vice president for membership of the Iowa Association of Business and Industry. And on the end, we have Michael Tramontina, who is the executive director of the Iowa Department of Economic Development. And the first question today, we've heard a lot about the economy and either the news, the media, internet, newspapers, name it. And they kind of spell a lot of doom and gloom for what's coming. We've heard terms such as economic slowdown, we've heard recession. With that said, if it does head that direction, is Iowa insulated from that potential slowdown or recession? And we'll just start out right here with Mr. Schipper.
Thank you, Chris. Well, let me start out. I guess your question, to respond to your question, I would say, first of all, Iowa is not insulated from anything, especially economically. Iowa is part of a global economy, and we're affected by everything that goes on. So beyond that, all the publicity and attention and dialogue about a recession is certainly real, and we are seeing some corrections and impact in various sectors of the economy, particularly residential housing. To the extent of the Iowa economy, of course, we're very strongly dependent on agriculture. The ag economy is very strong, but even in agriculture, in fact, this morning we had our loan committee meeting at our bank, and it's not unusual anymore for a community bank to be talking about price of energy and oil and what OPEC is going to be charging for oil as it relates to corn prices and agriculture in Iowa. So we're certainly not insulated from economic issues.
One of the question I think here in Iowa is how long it will take for us to continue escaping the national problems. One of the real benefits to Iowa is the strength of our agricultural sector, and that's continued to add to state revenues and employment growth, personal income growth in the state. The question is there a bubble, and how long can our strengths continue before we can avoid any of the national recessionary conditions?
Yeah, just a couple of comments to add on to what the previous panelists have indicated. Clearly, the national economy is a concern. Des Moines, my remarks will be situated more to the Des Moines metropolitan area, but we're a major financial services center, so if the national economy slows down, it will impact the business activity of companies in our region. However, so far, we're faring relatively well. Our employment situation, our employment's up about 2% from last January, which is the latest figures available, so we're doing okay there. As Jim mentioned earlier, housing is taking a hit. The housing, residential single-family industry, our permits were down about 20-25% last year. So, but we're seeing some good things. A number of projects and companies with expansion plans, and working closely with Director Tramontina in his office on a number of projects. And so we've got companies that are growing right now too. In the ag sector, companies like Pioneer, Monsanto, investing more R&D to develop new traits. John Deere Credit is looking at maybe a building expansion and adding more jobs out in Johnston, and you have projects like Aviva, Wellmark, Principals, expansions and efforts. And so I think there's some real positive signs out there, but obviously we're concerned about the national scene and how that might impact us here in Des Moines.
Mr. Moss, you kind of touched on the financial services. This is a financial services center, epicenter basically of the nation. Are there any, for any of you who feel like discussing this, are there some sectors of Iowa's economy that may be impacted more than another in the event of a slowdown or a recession?
I would say the residential housing market would definitely be hit. We have 62 board members of the Association of Business and Industry. And at any given board meeting, we ask our members, our board members, how they are faring economically. And at our last board meeting in April or in March, they responded unanimously that things are positive. There was one exception to that, and that was Pella Corporation. And of course, they were devastated by the closing of the Story City plant, but we're quick to note that that was a plant that needed serious renovation and was going to be going through a lot of capital infusion in the next year or two. So rather than spending more money, they decided to look inwardly and really look at their operations and find ways to stay competitive. And I think that at the end of the day, Iowans are innovators, and they're going to find a way to make anything that they're doing successful.
I would add that, just as an overview, the Iowa economy actually today is really very strong. And one of the biggest, probably the biggest challenges we have in continuing a strong economy that we have is a shortage of workforce. So there is some balance there in a transition of the economy. In fact, specifically in the case of the closing at Story City of the Pella plant, executives at Pella reported to us that within the first week, 150 different companies had contacted them about wanting to come in and do presentations to their employees. And that is devastating to a family and to a worker when they lose their job and their employer's moving away. But I think what we're seeing there is that we're seeing some absorption of that workforce into Ames, into Marshalltown, into Newton, into Fort Dodge, and so that's something we could absorb. I think we've seen